Good morning students. Today we are going to study about the next part of the crop production and management, that is harvesting. Okay, now this is the final stage of the matured crop. After so many things, that so many agricultural practices, what were they? Like plowing or tilling, loosening of the soil. Then what was done? Crops were sown, irrigation was done, then protection of the crop was being taken care of, how to protect the crops that are growing in the field, to protect them from various insects or pathogens or rodents, or natural calamities. These were the things that we had done by now. Now the crop is mature. After the cycle being completed, the maturation of the crop is taking place. It means the harvest is ready. Now the crop is going to yield harvest. So harvesting, what is harvesting? Harvesting means it is the process of cutting. The process of cutting and collecting the mature crop from field. Cutting and collecting means we are cutting the crop, we have to take the harvest and then collect it somewhere from the field, and we have to keep somewhere safe. So this process of cutting and collecting the mature crop from the field is called harvesting. Okay. So how this harvesting is done? In earlier days, what was done? That with the help of, not in earlier, even today it is in practice in some villages or remote areas, in some very remote areas. This practice is still there. It is manually cut. The harvested crop, the mature crop is manually harvested. How? With the help of sickle. S-I-C-K-L-E. Sickle helps in harvesting the crop. What do? They just hold it, and with the help of sickle, they cut and keep a pile. They keep on doing continuously. And after that, what they will do? They will collect it and then go for the further threshing. But nowadays, this manual method is very much, still it is in practice, but it is becoming outdated in some of the very financially sound conditions, or people, because they know the value of time, maybe that some natural calamity can strike or anything can happen. So to avoid that, now machines are also being used. Machines are used to harvest the crops, and we call them harvester. What do we call them? Harvester. So sickle manually and harvester mechanically. Okay, so these are the two ways to harvest the crop. Then comes threshing. Harvesting, in that only the next part is threshing. What do you mean by threshing? To separate the grain from the chaff. Chaff spelling is C-H-A-F-F. What is it? You might have seen that how does the grain appear to be in the crop. They are in the form of spikes. There is a, like this. In this, grains are there, and like this. We call it spikes of grain. Spikes of wheat or spikes of rice, like this, or maize. Fine. Seeds are contained in this, and these seeds are covered with a covering. We call it chaff. C-H-A-F-F. So what is threshing? It is separating the grains from chaff. That cover, yellowish color cover is there, covering is there. That is called chaff. So this, how it is done? In earlier times, and again I would say that in some remote areas still it is being done in some villages. What people do, either they do it manually. How they do it manually? They hold them in the hands and they keep on beating it, pounding it on some hard surface. Hard surface like some stones, etc. Okay, or they can keep like this also, that they keep drums made up of iron, and on them they keep on pounding it. Or they trample them, they get them trampled by the oxen, or they can keep like this somewhere, that on that the animals can move people move or some vehicles also can move. So what will happen? Those chaff, they will get removed from the grain. So this removing of chaff from the grains is called threshing. What is the another method? It is a manual method. Okay. Other than this, what is the method that we are using it in our modern scenario, in modern times? We are using threshers. These are machines. Okay. In that, what is being done? It is kept in the field over there. The piles or the stacks of these grains, the plants, crop plants, dried crop plants or harvested crop plants, they are inserted, and from the other end, what will happen? We will get the cereal or whatever we need to thresh. Okay, and on the other side, that stem or the stem of the plant or the crop plant, that will get chopped off and it will be used as fodder for the plants or for the animals. So this is how threshing is done. Besides this, there is a machine, we call it combine, combine, combine. It's a huge machine which simultaneously does both the actions like harvesting and threshing. Okay, that's why we call it combine. Harvesting and threshing, both the things are done with the help of this combine. It cuts also the crop. Besides that, it also threshes them, removes the chaff from the grain. Now this combine, it manages time. It's a modern technique to harvest the crop. And besides that, what happens? Side by side, these grains are stored, or the tractor moves along with it, and the whole of the field in an hour or so, or maybe 2 hours, it is completely done. So the best method today now we are using for harvesting. Okay, so these can be rented and then they can be used in the fields, and people are doing this just to manage the time, because again the same thing, the crop is standing outside, it is subjected to some weather conditions, maybe that dried, because it has become dried now, it can catch fire, somebody can play foul tricks on do some fishy things, so it is in danger. So the people, they try to manage the time. Then comes winnowing. It is also part of threshing. In this, what is done? The farmers, what do? They try, because some chaff is still in the grains. So to remove that chaff, what do? They take some grains in a particular, just like a plate-like structure, and in the front of moving wind, they would just throw them down, let them fall down. With the help of wind, the lighter chaff blows away, and the heavier grain, they make a heap underneath. They will fall down, the grains being higher, they will fall down, and the husk would blow away with the moving wind. In this way, the separation of chaff or husk, we call it husk, H-U-S-K. Husk or chaff is removed from the grains. So this technique is called, what do we call it? Winnowing. Winnows are used. Okay, winnows, W-I-N-N-O-W-I-N-G, winnowing, and W-I-N-N-O-W. Winnows are used by the farmers to remove the lighter husk from the grains. Next is, now here the threshing part ends. After this, the most important and the final step of the agricultural practices. And what is it? Storage. Now the job is not, the things are not ending here only. We need to store the grain, because this is only going to benefit the farmer economically or financially. So storage is again the last and the very important part of agricultural practices. What is being done here? The crop has to be stored. Like, if they cannot be thrown anywhere, because insects are there, rodents are there, they are going to spoil the crop. So to avoid that or to prevent that spoilage, what is being done? These grains or maybe fruit, vegetable, and anything, these are required to be stored properly, and that is done in the storage part. So where are the cereals or grains stored? Before storing them, they are dried in the sun so that the moisture content completely finishes from the grains, because moisture is one of the very important condition for some microorganisms to grow. And which microorganisms are going to spoil them? Fungi. So they are first dried in the sun, and then either they are packed in gunny bags, or we can say jute bags or sacks, and then they are put into the godowns or granaries. Godowns, these are the places where the grains are kept in large quantity in the packed condition, and time to time fumigated also. Fumigation is done. What do you mean by fumigation? The chemical is sprayed, or the chemical is put inside, introduced inside the grains or silos or godowns or granaries, so that the fungus does not grow. Because if fungus will grow, it is going to spoil our crop. It happens so. The moisture enters from somewhere, and then fungus starts growing, and the whole of the grain will spoil. It is going to spoil the crop, it will spoil the nutritive value, as well as they will not be worth of eating, neither for we eating and nor for the growth purposes. So neat and clean, dry, fumigated areas are required for storing the grains or cereals. So they are either stored in godowns or granaries, we call them, godowns or granaries, or grain silos. These are metallic huge containers in which we keep the grains. And besides that, what else we do? People in rural areas, what they do? They put some sort of like neem leaves, so that insects are at this, they keep distant from the grains. They do not spoil them. Okay, some sort of chemicals or some pills are there which are introduced, and they do not allow the grains to be spoiled. So in this, the next part is cold storage. What do you mean by cold storage? As the name is giving you hint, means to store the things below very low temperature. Okay, I think now some examples are coming in your mind. We are talking here about like meat, fish, eggs, dairy products. Okay, dairy products like milk, cheese, paneer, etc. like these things are stored. So what is the function of cold storage? Besides that, what do we? Fruits, vegetables, they are also stored in the cold storage. And what is the use of cold storage? First thing that they do is that they increase the life of the whatever the product that we are storing. Then second thing is that they help in retaining the nutritive value. What do? They increases the life, they retains the nutritive value, and prevents spoilage. Like you might have seen your mother, now winters have gone, so your mother might have done one very important thing, like she might have taken in lots and lots of quantity the peas, she removed the peel and then stored in the refrigerator, in freezer, deep freezers. Okay, now some more examples I can give you. Like you might have seen that you bring from the market those finger chips or some sort of that frying food products which are removed from the frozen area and then fried into the oil. So that is deep freeze. Okay, so the eatable items are kept under very low temperatures. This is called cold storage. So here we end about the agricultural practices. Now the last concept of the chapter that we are going to deal about is animal husbandry. What is animal husbandry? Animal husbandry means to rear the animals It is the branch of science, animal husbandry. It is a scientific approach of rearing the animals, which is responsible for breeding and raising of domestic animals on a large scale. It is science that deals with breeding and rearing, or we can say raising, the domestic animals. Okay, this science is called, and on large scale, not like one or two, on large scale, is called animal husbandry. Now, we will talk here about like milch animals. I am saying the word milch. Which are milch animals? The animals which provide milk to us. Milk giving animals. Like cow, buffalo, etc. These are called milch animals. Okay, so they include cows and buffaloes, etc. And they give us milk, which is used for various products, milk products. Like we make ghee, curd, cheese, paneer, and other things, butter, etc. Then comes second, poultry farming. What is poultry farming? Poultry farming is rearing of birds. Rearing of birds like hens, ducks, etc. for eggs and meat is called poultry farming. Rearing of hens, ducks, etc. for eggs and meat. We call it poultry farming. Then comes pisciculture. It is rearing of fishes. Is called pisciculture. It is in which we rear fish. For what? For their meat. For meat. People are fond of eating fish. Then next is apiculture. Apiculture is rearing of bees, honeybees, for honey, a very nutritive food item. It is full of nutritive or nutrients. Okay, quite rich in nutrients and used by people on large scale nowadays. The people, those who are health conscious, they take honey in warm water, lukewarm water, and drink it. Okay, so these are the various fields in which animal husbandry sums up. It is, I said, that science that deals with breeding. Breeding means the reproduction of the animals, and rearing or raising, and helps them in growing of domestic animals on large scale. Like you might have seen in fields, some fields people have introduced poultry farms. So what are these poultry farms? Poultry farms are the region or are the places where on large scale hen is being reared. For what? Two things, eggs or meat. So two types of birds are there. females are reared for their eggs and males are reared for their meat. Then next is milch animals. Milch animals, the animals which give milk, like cow, buffalo. Now, female cow and female buffalo will be raised for, or will be taken care of for milk. They yield milk, and milk, you know, is very important for us. Then next is that they are male animals, male cow, male buffalo. They are used as draught animals. Draught animals, labor animals, means which does some sort of work on the fields or the farms. Then comes pisciculture. It is rearing of fish for meat. And last one is apiculture, rearing of honeybees for honey. So here the chapter ends. So today's work will be to do the question answers of the chapter. So I'll send those questions.